town, and would I do the music for him. I told him I'd do the best I can. I stay hoarse anymore quite a bit, so y'all pray for me and y'all help out. Get your hymnals now and turn to 166. 166. Walking in sunlight, all of his journey over the mountain, through the deep vale. Jesus has said, I'll never forsake thee. Promise divine that never can fail. Heavenly sunlight, heavenly sunlight, flooding my soul with glory divine. Hallelujah, I am rejoicing, singing his praises. Jesus is mine. And the bright sunlight, ever rejoicing, pressing my way to mansions above, singing his praises. Gladly I'm walking, walking in sunlight, sunlight of love. Heavenly sunlight, heavenly sunlight, flooding my soul with glory divine. Hallelujah, I am rejoicing, singing his praises. Jesus is mine. Now let's turn to 232. 232. Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, just to rest upon his promise, just to know the saith the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I prove him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. I'm so glad I learned to trust thee, precious Jesus, Savior, friend. And I know that thou art with me, wilt be with me to the end. Jesus, how I trust him, how I prove him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. Anybody out there got a special for us this morning? Be glad to have it. If not, let's turn to 199. 199. When the trumpet of the Lord shall sound, the time shall be no more, and the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair. When the saved of earth shall gather over on the other shore, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, when the roll is called up yonder, when the roll is called Brother Reed, it's good to have you here this morning. You come and take care of whatever you think is necessary.
Morning. Let me get a second here and get set up. Yeah, Sam called me last Saturday, said talking about his aunt had passed and everything, and asked me if I'd come. I was like, I'll gladly come. And then I found out Friday afternoon that he was in the hospital. I hate that, and I know we got to talk to him this morning, Sunday school. That was good. This morning, if you would, join with me in John chapter 5. As I told him in Sunday school, for the past 6 or 7 months or so, I've been working through the book of John. And I'm just now to chapter 5. And actually, we're probably going to end up back into a little bit of chapter 4 in talking about part of this because I think it kind of relates. So coming up to John 5, John's actually a pretty chronological book. It kind of flows through and kind of gives you an order of things. Well, just before this, we in the chapter 4, we saw the I don't know why I'm stuttering this morning, but we saw the woman at the well, and then we saw the kid, the nobleman's son, and both of those people gotten healed in various ways. But we come down to chapter 5, and we see another instance here. In John chapter 5, starting in verse 1, it says, "After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and the Jews went up to Jerusalem. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season in the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever first after the troubling of the water stepped in was made whole, and whatsoever disease he had. And a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years." Now, just coming into this, and we'll stop right here. We're going to talk a little bit about this man. This man has been known in the community for 38 years. He'd been there. He had been paralyzed, essentially. And we see him here. He's at this pool. This pool seems to be his only hope in having a normal life. As you see from our reading here, there were loads of people that were there at this pool to try and regain a normal life. Now, we've heard a lot about normal life over the last 3 years. The new normal and all these other things. This man was trying to just get a normal life, to be able to support himself, not to have to rely on anybody else. He believed that this pool could help him. That's the whole reason why he was there. That's the whole purpose of him being there. But as we'll see as we read further on, he never can make it to the pool before somebody else gets there. Verse 6, we see Jesus come on the scene. When Jesus saw him lie, and knew that he had been now a long time there in that case, he said unto him, "Wilt thou be made whole?" Now, in reading that, the smart aleck wants to come out in me and just like, well, what do you think? Why else would you think I'm here? Jesus asked, "Would you be made whole?" Just a simple question, just a simple thing. In verse 7, the impotent man answered him, "Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me." So he doesn't answer the question. He answers it, but he doesn't. This is Jesus asking a simple yes or no question. This guy does not realize who he's talking to. He doesn't know. He may not have even heard of Jesus at this point, as we'll see later on. So the man says, I can't make it. I can't get there. I want to be made whole, but I can't get there. It's not happening for me. Verse 8. Jesus said unto him, Rise up, take up thy bed, and walk. Now, reading that, if you didn't know the story, you'd think this man, Jesus, is crazy. He just told this lame man, this paralyzed man, that's been laying here for 38 years to stand up, but not only to stand up, but to take his bedroll and go. And we'll see later this causes a little bit of trouble. But he tells him to. So what does the man do? Verse 9 says that immediately the man was made whole and took up his bed and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. The man could have just laid there. It's like, this dude is crazy. He's nuts. He's telling me to get up and walk. But instead, he got up. He stood up. He took a little bit of belief in what Jesus was telling him to do. Whether he knew who he was or not, he took some little grain of truth from what he was telling him to do, just to get up and go. Now, as we continue on in our story here, we're going to go down through verse 18. Verse 12, finish verse 9, verse 10. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, It is the Sabbath day. It is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed. These guys had seen, they may not have paid attention, but this guy had been at this pool at the temple for a long time. Maybe not the whole 38 years that he's had this paralysis, but at least for a large part of that, he had been at this pool of Bethesda trying to get healed, trying to get made whole. These people, these Jews at the temple knew him. Instead of, hey, you got up, you made it to the water. Oh, you're not supposed to carry your bed. You're not supposed to carry your bed. It's Sunday. We're not supposed to do any work. It's Saturday. This is their Sabbath day, Jewish Sabbath day. It's holy day. You're not supposed to be carrying that bed. You can only walk so many steps, to be honest. Jews therefore said unto him, Carry thy bed. It is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed. Verse 11. He answered them, He that made me whole, the same said unto me, Take up thy bed and walk. So I'm just doing what I was told. I'm just doing what I was told. You see, right there, he did not understand who Jesus was. Now, we know at certain times, whenever Jesus does miracles, he kind of conceals himself so that they don't know who he is until later on in the story, when this is maybe one of the case. He may have never seen Jesus before in his life. But in verse 12, then asked they him, What man is that which said unto thee, Take up thy bed and walk? And he said that he was healed, wist not who it was. For Jesus had conveyed himself away, and the multitude being in that place. He told him to get up, and he walked away. Afterward, Jesus findeth him in the temple, and said unto him, Behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. The man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus which had made him whole. And therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus, and sought to slay him, because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. But Jesus answered them, My Father worketh hitherto, and I work. Therefore the Jews sought the more to kill him, because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but said also that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Jesus gets in trouble. The Jewish hierarchy at the time is now wanting to take Jesus out because he healed a man, because he made a man whole, because he made a man better on a holy day. When we start thinking about the world that we have around us today, we're kind of in that same situation. As much as I hate to say it, we're kind of in that same situation in some of our churches. Instead of giving God the glory and praising Him for the things that He has done, because it was God's power through Jesus that healed this man, because Jesus was God. The Jewish institution at the time did not realize what they had in front of them. See, this was the Messiah that had come to save their lives. This was the Messiah that had come to establish his kingdom, but not in the way that they thought it was. You see, there's something else that comes out of this. If we look at this story as a whole and we look at the general response of this man, Jesus told him to rise, take up your bed, and walk. And he did it. Did he have to? Could this man have just decided, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to sit right here. I don't believe anything you're saying. Yes, he very well could have. Jesus gave him the choice. If we look back in John chapter 4, and I forgot to write this verse down. Sorry, I meant to write this down and I did not. Verse 47 or 46. So Jesus came again into Cana of Galilee, where he made the water wine. And there was a certain nobleman whose son was sick at Capernaum. When he heard that Jesus was come out of Judea into Galilee, he went unto him and besought him that he would come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. Then Jesus said unto him, Except ye see signs and wonders, ye will not believe. The nobleman said unto him, Sir, come down ere my child die. This guy is pleading for his child's life. This guy has heard of the things that Jesus has done in Jerusalem and in Samaria, and seen and heard these things, and he wants his son to be made whole. How many people with a sick kid wants to see him better, even if they just have a fever? Any parent out there doesn't want their kid to be sick, broken arm. We want him to be whole. This guy is pleading, the pleading of a parent. You see, this guy's a nobleman. He's a leader in the kind of Roman court of the local area of Capernaum, which is 20 miles away from Cana. 20 miles today is nothing for us. Back then, it was about a day and a half journey because they had to walk it. This man had laid some stuff out so that he could go to Jesus. He had put forth some of his own effort. I'm not talking prosperity gospel here. He had showed some belief in what he had saw. Verse 50, Jesus said unto him, Go thy way, thy son liveth. And the man believed the word of Jesus, the word that Jesus had spoken unto him, and he went his way. I'm not going to read the rest of this, but we see that he starts back on his way, and he stays a little bit overnight, and then he ends up meeting his servant and finds out that the moment that Jesus said, Your son lives, he was better. He didn't just start to get better, he was better. And the guy believed. And as you read down through there even further, his whole house ended up believing. Go even further back in chapter 4. And we see the Samaritan woman at the well. And we come down through here, and she starts to distract Jesus with where they worship, things of that nature. And he says unto her, where's that at? Yet another verse I meant to put down. Okay. Jesus said unto her, verse 16, Go call thy husband and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. In that thou hast, or saidst thou truly. And she perceives that he prophet. We come down to verse 25. The woman saith unto him, I know the Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things. Jesus said unto her, I am he that speak. In verse 27, upon this came his disciples and marveled that he talked with a woman, yet no man said, What seekest thou, and why talkest thou with her? The woman then left her water pot and went her way into the city, and saith unto the men, Come, see a man which told me all things that ever I did. Is not this the Christ? And as you read down through the rest of chapter 4 there, we see that not only did the men, she goes back to the men, and she tells them that he told me everything I'd ever done after this lengthy conversation with Jesus at the well. And she ends up bringing all the men of the town back out to Jesus. You see, this morning, my whole thing's not necessarily about these miracles. These are wonderful. These are great things that have happened. What about the response? What did they do with it? You see, if we're looking at the woman at the well, she not only accepted what Jesus was saying, but she went back and she brought the other men in the town back to Jesus to learn and to understand what he was there to do. The nobleman, whenever he came to get Jesus, because he had the intent of not leaving until Jesus came with him. But instead, he got his son healed and his family saved. The paralyzed man at the pool of the Bethesda turns Christ over. I don't know if the man ended up being saved or not. All I know is that God had a point in healing that man. And his point was to prove to us that no matter what anybody has done, no matter where they are, what they've done, what they've seen, who they've hurt, who they've harmed, what other things they've believed in, God can still save them. This morning, I felt like I've just sped through this, and I probably have. I don't even know when I got started. I'm going to wrap it up with one thing. God has issued a call. God has issued a desire for each and everybody in this building. Whether that to be for salvation, whether that to be for church membership, whether that be to serve. God has issued that call. And he lays that on each and every one of our hearts here this morning. He's laid it out there. What is your response? We've seen 2 good responses and a bad response this morning. Which one are you going to do? Are you going to pick up your bed and turn him in? Or are you going to go and you're going to tell everybody about him? This morning, as we stand for a verse of invitation, I don't know what's on your heart this morning. I don't know what's in your mind. go down the street and to pick up limbs out of the neighbor's yard because they can't. There's many, many forms of service. Sometimes we just need to go visit the people in the hospital. Sometimes we just need to talk to the coworker and give them some share of Christ. Because you know the thing about it, we like to invite people to church. We like to invite them here so they can hear the word from Sam or hear the word from the Sunday school teacher. But that's not what church is for. See, church is for believers to come together and to learn about Christ, to learn about God, to learn about what we're supposed to do as saved individuals. That's what church is. We see people get saved through that. Praise be to God. Our lives are supposed to be an example. Our words are supposed to reach out to these people and to tell them about the Christ that we serve. The mission field out there. What are you going to do?